So how do we know if our plants need water? How often should we water them? Today I'm going to give you a quick and easy hack to let you know exactly when your plants need water or not. And as a bonus, I'm going to give you 2 tips that will help you water less. Welcome to the garden. My name's Eileen, and this is The Garden Squared, where we teach you how to garden organically with less effort and more success. So if you're looking for a channel that gives you great tips and how-tos, as well as some sweet garden tours, click the little like you like button and subscribe. So how do we know if our plants need water or not? Well, let me just get 2 very common sayings out of the way so that we don't get confused. The first is 2 inches of water every week. Now, to me, I don't really listen to this rule. I find it a little bit silly because if you live in the high desert and it's 108 degrees every day for the entire summer, your plants are probably going to need more than 2 inches of water a week. And also, if you live in a place where it's always raining, your plants probably don't need 2 inches of water a week. So just to get that out of the way, I don't really listen to that. Also, the other thing that I don't really listen to is look to see if your plants are wilting. Now, if it's really hot and sunny outside, in the afternoon sun, your plant leaves will actually curl or maybe droop a little bit. And that's because what they're doing is they're protecting themselves from transpiration. So they're protecting themselves from water loss. So this doesn't necessarily mean that your plants need water. What it means is that your plant is protecting itself from excessive water loss in the hot sun. And also, if you're overwatering, your plants can also look like they need water, and that's because the root system might be rotting and kind of just rotting away. And so it looks like your plants need water, but actually you're killing them with kindness. You're giving them too much water. So how do we find out if our plants actually need water or not? Now, it's been 90 degrees for the past 3 days. Yesterday was actually 96 degrees. It's been really, really hot, and it hasn't rained in over a week. It's been very dry. So when I look at the surface of my soil, I see that my mulch layer is dry. And when I come home from work in the afternoon, my plants are kind of drooping. They look a little sad. It looks like they might need water. But let's use our quick tip, which is stick your finger in the ground or just dig a little hole next to your plant. So when we dig, okay, the top of the soil looks dry. You can see the top of the soil looks dry, or the mulch, I should say. But then when we dig down, I can immediately see that it's wet. So I know right away that my plant actually doesn't need water because the mulch is wet. And if the mulch is wet, that means the soil is wet. And that brings me to my first bonus tip. If you want to water less, mulch. Mulch, 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 mulch. Mulch really heavy, like 2 to 3 inches deep, and this is going to keep the soil cool and prevent evaporation from happening. So you'll have to water a lot less if you mulch deeply. And you can use wood chips, chopped up leaves, or a living mulch, which I've used in my thyme garden. And mulch, besides conserving water, is also really good for suppressing weed growth. So if you don't want to have to be weeding all the time, use a nice thick layer of mulch so that the weeds can't grow through it. So the quick and easy hack to knowing if your plants need water or not is to just simply dig a little hole or stick your finger into the ground, stick it down to like the 3rd knuckle I usually do, and if it feels dry, give them water. If it doesn't feel dry, then they don't need water. So how do you know if your plant in its pot needs water? So what I do is I just feel it. If it feels light, it needs water. If it's pulling from the sides, like this one, which I purposely let go a little dry, so you can see how it's pulling from the side right there. So this plant needs water. The pot's very light, and it's pulling from the side a little bit. So the easiest way to water a pot really well, if you just water from the top, the water, because the soil is dry, the water's just gonna go right through it really quickly, and the soil won't actually be able to absorb it. And that's why people say, oh, water your pots every day. If you water from the bottom with a little container and you let the soil get fully saturated with water, you probably won't have to water every day. So we are going to take our watering can. We're going to water from the top with the container in the bottom. And we're just going to water, water, water. So my other bonus tip to watering less is watering deep and often. So you want to make your plants into strong, independent plants, right? You don't want them to be dependent on you. So that way, if you forget to water one day, you don't come back the next day and your plants are just dead because they were so dependent on you for watering them every day. So the bonus tip is water less often, but deep. Don't just sprinkle the hose over them. You want to water for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Stick your finger in the ground. See, is it just wet on the surface, or did you put enough water in to fully permeate down 2 or 3 inches, maybe even 4 or 5? And what this does is that when you water deep and less often, your root system in the plants will go down deeper to find that water. So they'll be able to get stronger and more independent, which is what we want from our plants. We want them to be strong and independent. So now that our pot is full, you just let it sit, and let it sit for, a half an hour, and you just test it. So when you pull it out, see how the water's coming out the bottom? But I can still see that the top of the soil is still dry. It's still pulled away. So I'm just gonna let it sit, and capillary action will suck the water up into the pot. And this is a great way to save water too, because you can use the same container that has the water in it when you're done watering this plant for other plants that you have in pots. So it kind of just saves it. Instead of just watering it from the top, it all comes through, rushing through the bottom, and then it just goes into the ground. So this way you can use one little bucket of water and you can water a whole bunch of different plants in pots. So if you have any questions about watering, or if I haven't made anything perfectly clear, just let me know in the comments below. And as always, click that little likey like button and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.